Carlo, what's that on the back?
And we are live. Welcome.
Hello, world.
There we go. Welcome to episode 1 of the Airsoft Nation live show. I will go through who we are quickly on a brief introduction. So you've got myself, Graham, who's founder of Airsoft Nation. Over to my right, that way, you got Carlo.
Evening all.
Carlo runs the Floperator podcast. Past him, we've got Mr. Paul Bibby. Paul is the organizer of Unleashed events, previously working with Strike Force CQB. And finally, our special guest of the evening, first guest of the live show, we've got RandomTrashy.
What's happening?
There we go.
Right, is that it? Anyway, are we done?
Yeah, the intro's done. That's it. Right.
All right, we're on.
We're on.
So we're live to millions across the world now, are we?
I hope so. Shall we get into the first subject?
Yeah, so the plan is, I'll just go through the plan since we are on the first show. The plan will be to discuss some of the stuff that's been going on in all of our lives, kind of thing, with the streams of podcasts, stuff like that for the last week, and discuss the news of the airsoft scene. Pretty loaded actually this week. We've had quite a lot going on. And then after that, we're going to take a quick break and then start quizzing RandomTrashy on Milsims, since he has been doing a lot of work over the past few months. So yes, Carlo, did you want to start with the first bit of what you've been up to and what's the podcast going on with?
The podcast has been taking a bit of a spin lately. It really started off as a joke, and since then we've kind of got. I'm serious, and we've got a bit more serious with it in terms of actually trying to reach out and really cover all aspects of airsoft. So, in terms of like site owners, players, you also have your Milsimmers, battle simmers, film simmers, reenactors. The LARP side as well, because that's starting to become a big thing in airsoft as well. There's a huge event that goes on, I think 2 or 3 times a year, known as the World Went Dark, and this is where you have the kind of your zombie people LARPing with airsoft weapons as well. So we really just want to try and encapsulate all aspects on the podcast and kind of highlight each and every small area, just showing that there really is something for everyone.
And how long have you been doing that for now?
That's what you've been doing, going since, I think, October, November?
Come up to episode 10,
then, so not very long. We're finally up to 10 listeners, which is great.
No, episode 10. Hopefully this show will get... Yeah, hopefully this show will get at least that far.
Well, I just want to try and bring more people together with it, like the whole Beatles thing, come together right now over me.
After last time, you told me you loved me.
You can pay me enough.
So, Paul, what have you been up to? I know you're a busy guy at the moment going on.
I've been this week frantically risk assessing a couple of new sites. I'm going to be playing on. I'm opening another site, which is a paintball site. Yes, it's used. Don't hate me, but it's another site in the local area that, quite frankly, I think needs one. It's quite a well-established paintball site. There's buildings and all this, that, and the other. I'm not doing as many live feeds as I used to because, to be honest, the same news over and over again is like the same food over and over again, boring. And I've been looking at buildings for another CQB site. That's all I'll say about that. But apart from that, it's been really good. Had a good week. So working for a living now, but Airsoft's taken another. I tried to leave Airsoft, but like the Godfather said, it keeps pulling me back in.
That's only a good
I
thing
am
for
loving it.
us. Good,
And I
good.
think working
You
for
can
yourself
never
and doing
lose.
your own thing, you kind of just can do your own thing and be your own boss because it can be your own train set. So, cool.
And Tim, I know you've already had one video out today, one over the weekend, so it's been a busy week. So how's things working with you?
Yeah, really good, thank you. Just trying to keep the content going on the channel, especially with the new Milsim series starting. It's been something that I've really wanted to do for such a long time, and I just really struggled with finding a decent approach for it. So that's just going to be an ongoing thing. The more questions that come in, the more questions that need to be answered, the more content that will go out. And that's really the way I wanted to do it. And that's why it sort of got its title. Planning for Carewent with Sterling is this weekend. So I'll be heading up there Friday lunchtime, and that's till Sunday. So that's looking to be a really solid event. We're going to get some terrible weather as usual, as Wales always has. So yeah, it's been manic with up and down to London and producing the content, and with the products coming in as well now. Obviously, IWA is around the corner, so there's lots of products coming to the market, and people want their videos ready so that as soon as they're launched at IWA, people can check them out online. So that's the next backlog for next week.
Are you heading to IWA?
Not this year, no. I did speak to Warrior about it. The next one that I should be going to is the Northern Shooting Show. Yep. I didn't make it to the British one, but the Northern Shooting Show have got apparently a massive airsoft area, and they've got a shooting range and some other bits. Scots Country, of all people, actually are really pushing into the airsoft market, and obviously they're a big real steel and hunting retailer in the UK, and they are looking towards swallowing up some of that market. So they've actually asked me to go up there. And that's about it, I think.
That's cool.
Very cool. Very cool.
Very cool.
Okay, since you brought this to my attention, Carlo, did you want to start with the news on kit shaming? I do have a photo.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so if you want to post that photo into the chat so everyone can have a look,
There
and
we
we'll
go.
Start discussing that. Right. This is something that has been bothering me for a while, as everybody kind of can get a feel for. I am very anti-bullying. I have been since my teenage years, to be honest. And the first response this got, the original post on UKC, were a load of, I don't really want to swear on this, but kind of shitheads. Just belittling somebody because they wore a bicycle helmet and it didn't look quite right. Now, fair enough, okay. Each to their own. But when you start shaming on somebody else because of what they're wearing, is kind of where I draw the line. That's not on. End of the day, there could be any reason this guy's wearing it. What we actually found out was his head doesn't fit in most clone helmets. So he picked up a bike helmet, and he also said it's a great place for him to store his GoPro on as well, because it just sits so easily on the front.
So when I saw this, that was my first thought. Was like, look, this guy's mounting a GoPro on it. That was there was no kind of he's using this to protect his head, or it's going to offer up any BB orientated protection. I just thought it's the way the guy's going to rock his GoPro, right? He's got two mounts on it. So to me, it just looks like something that's facilitating the purpose of being able to wear a GoPro, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean,
I honestly just thought he was just being ingenious. Lad's not got a lot of money. People starting airsoft don't want to wash any money out. I thought, smart guy, you know. I really didn't see anything wrong with it. I kind of was astonished it got jumped on like it did, and well, quite frankly,
I wouldn't have even done a double take on it. That's the crazy thing. If he was to walk past me, I wouldn't even have noticed. The fact he'd sprayed it as well, just to me, was like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it did end in a good news at the end of the story, though, didn't it? Which was quite nice. I mean, this thing went pretty viral for the airsoft scene.
Because of its fucking stupidity, really.
Yeah, okay, but what were the original helmets based on?
Protex, canoeing, climbing helmets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
My hair just brought me that.
So,
not that far removed, really, is it?
No, that's it. Well, there was a few of the communities did actually go out their way to find out who it was and grab the photo. So we found out the player was from Red One, if I believe correctly. And I've actually spoke to this guy, Dave. I won't reveal the full name, but I spoke to him as well, actually. And Airsoft World actually did send him out a helmet for all the hassle that he was given that day. But I did have a chat, and he's had nothing but a huge amount of support. My main concern that day was, how old is this person? To me, that he looks a lot younger. And I thought, if you've had a bad day at college or whatever, you come back, you turn on Facebook, and the first thing you do is see 60 people slagging you off. Luckily enough for him, actually, by the time he jumped on, the post had gone, and everyone else was just posting nice stuff about it and saying it was a load of crap, really. But yeah, it was nice to see Airsoft World did that, and hopefully the new helmet does fit his head. But it does seem to be a bit of a newer thing of kit shaming. So
yeah, but is that really a thing, or is it just like this old school mentality? Because we used to have a lot of this shit in the 90s about brands people were wearing as well.
And I can imagine, yeah, exactly. It's probably been around for a while. I mean, I got a post on Reddit just yesterday saying, "Hi, I've got a gun. I want to play my first game, but I've only got an OD top and some jogging bottoms. Am I going to be shamed essentially when I get there?" Which I don't think should have happened or has happened.
You get in with the right crowd, and that should never happen.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Tim has frozen as he's just messaged to me.
Unlucky.
In my time of running sites, I have seen people turn up with all manner of clothing, from boiler suits to a guy that wore motocross body armor because he was afraid of the pain. And when people were shooting him repeatedly and he's not moving because he can't feel it, the concept was right. I don't want to get hurt and I don't want to lose my temper. It's perhaps that's day one, week one for somebody. Tim's definitely winning the human statue awards on that one, I tell you. Yeah, I think because Airsoft is essentially, from the outside looking in, quite a closed shop and quite a narrow, very small niche market to get into. It's difficult, isn't it, for somebody to come on first day and go, is this right? Because people have a lot of preconceived ideas, like we all do.
Yeah.
About
I totally agree with you.
And certain bits and pieces. So I just think the guy quite rightly has been looked after by the Airsoft community as a whole. He's back. So I'm proud of us as a community that we actually, the minority has been shown, actually the guy's come up, you've mocked him, and so we've helped him. So it's
yeah, he's come back stronger.
Signs ready. It's a
yeah, there we
for
go.
you, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
go with that one.
It's that, people. It's your hobby. You do it your way.
Yeah,
I think there's like kit for purpose as well, right? I mean, this guy's he's using it as a GoPro mount. Whether he couldn't afford it, he wanted to run footage, whatever it is, it worked for him. I think sometimes there's a bit of a border cross between having kit that's kind of fit for purpose. Like if you are, I think we're going to discuss this a bit further on, but like if you have got a really light pair of cheap trousers on or whatever, and you're going to be out in the freezing cold for a day, 2 days, then sometimes that upgrading kit to make it your event or whatever, it might give you more comfort, or whether it gives you more protection or whatever. I think there's that kind of sentiment, but I don't think it should be enforced by putting someone down. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think at times, sometimes you need to say something like, if you get a hard shell jacket or whatever, rather than your DPM top, if it does piss it down, it's going to offer up better protection than what you've currently got. But I don't think you should do that by shaming someone. Do you know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't dig them out. But I think sometimes, dependent on what kit people are bringing to events and the type of event you're doing, sometimes it is better to say to someone, look, you're going to be more beneficial going to buy yourself like a 20 quid shark skin from eBay than rocking a BDU top. something that's going to offer up more protection, a little bit more warmth, especially if you're, going to be doing these longer, more sustained events. I think in that case, sometimes it's wise to sort of take on some of that, but I just don't think you can take the piss out of someone from what they've got on.
No.
So I just want to read out a question that we got on the live chat here. Bibby, what's your opinion on abseiling with no rope?
What's my opinion on abseiling no rope?
Yeah.
It depends. I can't actually see any of these questions. Where are they?
They're on the YouTube chat.
Oh, I'm not on
next
that.
to the stream on YouTube, there's a live chat.
I'm not doing that. What are my opinions on people abseiling without ropes? I say, if you can do it and survive, continue. And repeat until you stop surviving.
Well, I've got one. I've got one here. It's like you don't need a parachute to go skydiving. You need a parachute to go skydiving twice.
Correct. I'm glad I can't read any of these because I would probably laugh and a little bit.
That's why I did.
Am I the oldest? Definitely the oldest.
Where's your sombrero, Carlo? I left it in Mexico, but I do have this.
There we go.
Now, there's another question here from Kicking Mustang. He says, tactical welly boots always deserve shaming, surely.
No. Welly bobs, awesome bit of kit. Dipping, horrible, wet mud. Talking from a guy that used to run a woodland site. Welly bobs. Perfect. It's all well and good having really nice leather Gore-Tex boots, but that leather gets sodden, they get heavy, they get muddy. Welly bobs in the woods for the win.
What if you treat the leather right?
I do. I use lady grease. I use dubbing and make sure it's all clean and look after my boots. But at the end of the day, the welly boot. Look at people that work in the countryside and work outdoors. Farmers, what have they always got on? Welly boots.
Wellies.
So Tim,
and the chat really,
you
innit?
got it on your shopping list this week.
Mate, I've got full gate. My thing was going to the valley, and we infield up a river. At the first sight of doing it, I was like, I ain't getting in there, and I didn't have much choice. Matt from the Sterling crowd is much bigger than me, so I was in the river in no time. I did have Gore-Tex boots. My feet got soaked. My lesson was by gaiters, full boot gaiters that go like over with grip underneath and come up. I think they're from Jack Pike that come up above the knee.
Yetis, have a look for some of them. They are awesome snow gaiters, and they encapsulate your boot so it doesn't even go in over the top of the boot.
Yeah, I learned a lesson then that full gaiters worth having if you're in the valley. So no one wants wet feet for 24 hours when it's -5. It's just stupid. You're bordering on. You're bordering on misery and potentially illness. So, not saying I'd advise, but yeah, maybe wellies.
You know what? I'm going to do it next time.
Are we talking about hunters?
That's it, and then I will give the tip of the spear review on welly bobs and playing.
Okay, so swiftly moving on. So, gone from kit shaming to what about the way that marketing is for buying kit? Now, I don't know if, Paul, do you want to bring this one up? I'll let you take the lead on this one.
I am, this week, I've been discussing with quite a few people, does sex sell? And what I'm talking about is, our airsoft is so stupid that a set of tits and a bit of minge will sell you airsoft kit over, a guy that's actually been there, done it, used it, or practicality. Will you buy it because there is a essentially pretty girl modeling it? Is this right? Is it appropriate? Is it demeaning? Do you know what? I don't care if it's a man or a woman. If the kit works, if it's well sold. But some retailers and companies seem to think that we are driven by our little brain, not our big one.
Yeah. Do we want to, without mentioning the company in question, describe for the people who haven't seen the advert,
Yeah,
what
I
exactly
would.
that
I would
was.
attempt a reenactment, but vomit is not good.
I'll pass on that one.
It was basically a young lady with her legs spread and the rifle in between her legs, and she clearly had no knickers on, and it was. I don't think it was cool. I think it was. I think in a small group of guys, it was funny and yeah, do that. But actually, it was fundamentally wrong.
Yeah.
I thought it was demeaning.
Let's hear from
What everybody else
Trashy.
thought.
Trashy, do you have any words on this at all?
Yeah, I mean the kit that I go to, if I'm chasing kit now, it's SF stuff or it's stuff that's used out in the field. Smudge, the rest of those boys are normally the first person that I go and give a nudge on Facebook and say, look, I need this. A lot of the retailers that I deal with, luckily enough, deal with a lot of real steel stuff. So Ian Hilson from Tactical Kit, he knows all of the products inside out. That is a company that just stores and supplies very high-end kit, and he's another person that I just roll to and be like, look, I need this. There is some companies that I tie in with. Obviously, most people in the chat and you guys know that, like Warrior and Claw Gear, they provide mil-spec products. So, if I do need something, I can go to them. But if I am looking for other things, then, yeah, I think it doesn't make any difference to me on the marketing. I'd rather go on YouTube and see someone review it, or the fact that it's used by certain, certain military units. That for me is going to get. I'd rather see some group of SEALs wearing a particular jacket than some girl with her legs spread wearing it, and that's because the weight it carries with the purpose of the product. Those guys aren't going to, take something out into the field that's a load of shit. But if the girl's been paid to lay on her back with a camera in front of her, wearing a jacket or advertising whatever product, it means nothing to her. Do you know what I mean? And that's it's a bit of a weird
is it
one.
just females, or can it be derogatory to males as well?
Oh, if the geezer's sitting with his legs spread and got a jacket on and's been paid to do it, it means the same thing in my eyes. It's going to capitalise a different market. Do you know what I mean?
It's worth saying. It's worth saying the person who's done this advert, it was a really loud outcry from the community. And I mean, I saw Paul comment and a few other people, but I did notice.
I think it's disappeared now.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think it was just a bad mistake from their point of view to do it. But it was interesting to see there were a lot of females comment and say, "That's it, not buying from you again." Which I mean, it was very quick to jump on there. I don't believe the retailer in question would, didn't expect it to happen like that. And so, yeah, that was a bit of a surprise from their part. I mean, they've always done it. But marketing, they always say marketing ruins everything in that respect. And we're not exactly the first industry to have this sex sells comment.
Yeah. There's something here in the chat from Padbear1. And it reads this. I'm going to read this verbatim. AI 500 mag. Last 4 pages. Just 2 ladies in swimwear for airsoftshop.be.
Do you think it applies to different audiences? Do you think like a younger audience is probably going to be more inclined to be like, I'll check that girl out and then maybe glance at some products? I don't know. To me, it just doesn't work.
Do we think it's the audience that actually can't afford to go in the first place?
Subjective.
Yeah, do you know what? I think if it will attract attention, which I think it does, but I think it attracts the wrong attention. I think perhaps I'm looking at this from a jaded point of view, and I'm not really, I'm not really convinced by it. I think it's a daft thing. I get it that it will work on the people go, oh, tits, let's have a look at that. But I'm really just not convinced by it myself. It's odd. What do you do?
I've got one word for this.
Yes.
That's it. Okay, I think we can cap this off. I think we can cap this off. Frankly, it's
done.
I think most people would rather be.
I think it's wasting our time.
It's never going to end. Okay, we're not going to stop it. It's never going to end, and it's been tried and tested for years and years, centuries even. ever since print media was invented.
Yep.
You know, it's always going to be that primitive form of instinct, that carnal instinct to just go, yeah, sex sells.
Yeah, definitely seems to be in more obviously male-dominated industries where I have noticed, you know, especially in the last couple of years, there have been a lot more of a female audience growing, and especially for a hobby where females seem to be a lot more accepted straight off the bat. Especially, like I say, in the last couple of years, I've noticed that from my point of view, anyway, in my site. But yeah, like I say, it's been there since the first terms of advertising, really. It'd be interesting how it grows, or if it doesn't grow over the next couple of years with that.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, we may be in this contemporary age. Yeah, look, yeah. Along with everybody else in the contemporary age, it just becomes dull and unsaturated. Like these colours behind me.
Andrew said we should have a female on with her right now, as it would be interesting to get their perspective.
100%.
100%.
Soon.
I think
100%.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Agreed. I've been chatting with a couple of girl softers this week, and to be honest, they think it's ridiculous. It is, you know, it is a male-dominated sport that you can't deny, and we do bleat on as airsofters. Oh, you know, we'd like more females to play, but they'll only come and play if they don't feel like they're going to be objectified and you know, fantasized about and this, that, and the other. And the ones that do want that, quite frankly, are going to
send you the ones I've been sent.
Yeah,
I think we're done with that.
Graham, if I send these to you and Paul, this has got my blood pressure up. This has honestly got my blood pressure up. I'm quite for equality, and that I believe is utter bullshit. You can't sell a product just on the product itself. You have to use something else. You're really hitting the lowbrow, aren't you?
Yeah. It will end up in the stage of when you used to have the girls at all of the car shows, right? And they would think that you're going to come over and spend money at a car, you know, stand around car parts because they've got a girl there in hot pants, and it never done anything. You know, it didn't have any effect on the sales, but now they've, you know, that's a big decline in market now, is that people don't tend to do that as much. You see it a lot of SHOT Show. You even see it at IWA with some brands, you know, have the girls there around some of the firearms, and maybe it will attract a little bit of attention to a stand, but you find that a lot of the larger companies move away from that. And that's because you can almost look at the business as not taking their product seriously when, like you said, you've got to have some girls standing out front to actually draw the attention. If the product itself can't do that, then work on the product and not on having people standing at the front. But obviously the car market now is pushed away from that attitude. And I think maybe this sex sales thing might push in a little bit on airsoft, but I don't think people will stand for it for very long. One, because I think there's a building girl community within airsoft, which I think is awesome. But then, you know, I think that there's a building community of younger people and older people and ex-service people that should be taken into account as well. That's my 2 cents.
Right.
Next.
Bored of this one now. So let's move on to the other news, which was about 4 or 5 days ago now. BodgeUps are leaving YouTube.
Oh, well, see you later.
As quick as that. I'm sure it doesn't come to a lot of people's surprise. It's been 3 or 4 months since the last video. You haven't seen a lot from social media wise, but he has now finally announced that he will stop the YouTube videos. And part of this was to do with the fact that he felt he was focusing more on the content than the playing, and that he'd taken the fun out of it. And for the rest of you who can't see, there was a part of this rather long leaving speech. There is a few snippets that I've just taken apart out of it, which is pretty much angling on the fact that his life had changed, but he'd ended up having this goal of 100,000 people, subscribers, back obviously when Novrich was growing up massively and fast, and he'd found himself focusing more on the goal than actually on enjoying airsoft and stuff like that. I don't know many people that had a bad experience with BodgeUps. He's definitely a fan favourite of some of the YouTubers there. Interestingly, he only posted this up on Reddit, which had a strong community for him, but not on his own Facebook or not on his own YouTube. But trying to know what you guys think, especially more Tim. You are doing YouTube, obviously. Of what you guys
You
think.
also take this one.
Yeah.
You want to go first?
I'll throw in 2 cents first. I met Wayne, obviously he's quite close, down south at the sandpit for the first time. First time I met Kicking Mustang, actually, and or James. And me and Wayne had spoke a few times before that, especially around the Milsim side of things that he was potentially looking to go and do, and then he got injured, so it was kind of something he had to sort of write off a bit. But it was something that me and him used to talk about, and then he went from like 25,000 to subscribers. His account just boomed with like Lad Bible and I think it's Lad Bible, something like that, reposting it on Facebook, and he just said it took him by surprise how much of an audience, how much traction he got so quick. But I know from having him on like Skype and stuff, he used to be in front of the computer just stupid amounts of time doing his videos, and I feel for him. It's difficult when you've got a family and he moved house and he got married and all that sort of thing, as well as doing this and having a full-time job. I think it just sort of consumed him too much and he lost the fun. And like, I think Graham, you mentioned it earlier, he was concentrating more on what angles of shot he was getting, composition, and what's going to make a better video than actually going out and enjoying himself. And for me, that kind of sucks. It's one of the reasons why I won't do gameplay. Do you know what I mean? Because I wouldn't want to deter my focus away from being part of my team and making sure my guys don't get slotted, then focusing on camera work. And I think that's where he got to. He focused a hell of a lot on making sure his videos were top quality, and that detracted from him enjoying events. So it's a shame. I really like him. He's a great guy. Again, I met him a few times, really humble, really genuine. And it is a shame that he's left the YouTube community, as well as potentially the Airsoft one as well. So yeah, it's a bit gutting.
I enjoyed his. I've had him on my site, and I was desperate to get him to Dalton to play there, as he would have really enjoyed it there. And hopefully, if he does pop out of retirement and decides to have a play again, even if it's only clandestine and under the radar, I'll say they're out there. Wayne, PM me and you can come play, mate. It's on me, it's on the company, because we just love to see how well you do out there. I think the YouTube thing, having never managed it and something that's never entered my world personally, but been involved in a lot of it, it's bloody exhausting, I would imagine. You go out, you play a day of Airsoft, and for most people that's enough just to chat about it through the week. But to actually then create that level of content and have that amount of people constantly asking you questions, and constantly on Facebook, and constantly with the why don't you do this, and the constant comparisons, I would imagine that it kind of, he hit that barrier and just thought, you know what, I'm bored of it.
Yeah,
I know I would be.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's what's happened, but that's how I see it.
I just want to chuck in here quickly. I mean, Graham and I, we spoke about this when it was first posted up, and I believe I called it Wayne's eulogy to his YouTube career. And I don't think that's too far off the truth. What's actually been said, and being a content producer can be quite consuming, not only with your time but your energy, as well as your entire life. And if you don't set aside personal time to make this content for whatever reason it happens to be, you start losing followers, you start losing traction. You bury your lead in anything that you have a sense of duty to uphold to your fans and your viewers. It's good that he's managed to identify that and take a break before it truly did, destroy everything from what was just a hobby. I mean, I believe there's a few lines in his statement itself that said he was spending more time working on it then he'd focused on his career or his full-time job that was actually putting food on the table.
Yep.
You know, it reads like a say a eulogy. It reads like a junkie story when you're in rehab. If you ever meet these people, they tell you a lot of. They first get a little taste of it, and then it just they have to keep going with this substance in their life. And I believe if he hadn't have taken time out to realize exactly what was happening with his life, he would still be going now, hating playing airsoft.
Yeah.
Then that's just me, and I'm an outsider looking in.
No, I think you're right. I think he realised that he was losing the fun of airsoft, and it was time to stop. Like, you know, he hit that six-figure digit of the 100,000 subs. That was his goal. Boom, weight off your shoulders, and then kind of take a break. I think you almost get burnt out then once you've hit that goal. You know, I've known Wayne for a while now. He was around at Christmas and saying that he was, you know, thinking of stepping aside at that point. And I think the other thing is the type of content he's producing. You're going out pretty much every Sunday, and you need to hit those targets. You need to get that quality content, because if you don't, there's another week before you can put another video out. And unless you're going to split one skirmish down into 5 or 6 videos, I mean, he did try the whole take your sniper rifle apart at home, do a few of the BodgeUps blogs or vlogs. But I think that's it, isn't it? If you're always going to be on site requiring that kind of target shot and you need to get that video footage, if you haven't got it for a week or two, or you're having injuries like he did, and there's a good couple of weeks to months but before you can essentially put more content out. So I can imagine that can be burnt out quite a bit. Obviously, Tim, you must have quite a heavy schedule for the amount of content you put out.
Yeah, and it's also on a bit of a tap. So I'm quite lucky that you know, when my son was born last year, I just wound the tap in a bit, and I let people know that I was going to sort of slow off a bit. But there's also a certain expectation that someone will send you a load of kit, and then within a few weeks they'll have a review video done. Sometimes that is easy to do, that you just do an overview, like I have quite a few on my channel where I don't live and breathe a product, but I just give people an overview. A lot of the products I do review, you can't physically go and see them in a shop, or you can't, you know, pick them up off a shelf. You know, people are looking at an image on a website, and sometimes they want a little bit more detail. So sometimes I cover that. Some of the other products end up being an in-depth thing where I have them for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then people want a review, and I go into a little bit more detail. But there is a certain expectation from some brands that they'll send me something out, and then, you know, a couple of weeks later, to meet with the launch of the product, there's a video going out.
Yep.
You just have to kind of make the time for it, you know. The schedule can be tight, sometimes it can be a little bit arduous, but I actually enjoy doing the content. I get my commute from London and back every single day's editing and rendering time for me. So anything I shoot over the weekend, anything I shoot during the week is edited and rendered. I get into work. That's an upload schedule while I'm normally doing my morning calls and my checkups for work. And then, you know, the rest of the time is filling in, you know, all the information and spreading it around on social media and stuff. So yeah, I totally see for him, you know, he's got a much more complicated edit to do, and that in itself can be really time consuming. Like, I've done a couple of vlogs last year, and they probably took me a week to edit, and it's like a 4-minute video. So when he's trying to edit these big Milsims, or, you know, these weekenders and all the other long standing events he did into a 5-6 minute video, and he's dealing with 4 or 5 different sources and different memory cards and stuff, it must be killer. It must be really, really difficult. So he's got to respect the time that he's put in so far to build the channel that he has. I'd love to see him come back, but I wouldn't blame him if he wants to have, you know, a good year out and enjoy being married and moving into his new home and stuff, and maybe getting over some of the injuries and that as well.
Absolutely.
Cool. Andrew Beaton asked a question on the live chat, and it is this: RandomTrashy, have you ever had any backlash for a poor review?
Yes. Yeah, I have. And I've had one video I've had to remove, And then the other one was about the ICU 2.0 720p camera, and the company sent me a sort of bit of a shitty email, and yeah, it happens. I'm quite lucky that a lot of the products I get are normally fairly decent, you know, and that's genuinely true. You know, I said, me and Graham were actually talking about this, and I said, look, tonight, because this is, you know, almost like an open chat, I'm going to be very honest about everything that goes through on the channel. 99% of it I've had come through has been really good. There's been a few things where I wouldn't strictly advise someone to go out and get something. I've reviewed it, and then if they said, you know, is this the sort of step you would take, then sometimes it isn't the exact product that they're going to need. But yeah, the ICU is the worst one. They sent me, you know, this camera, said, oh, it's great, works on all these, works on a Picatinny rail, and there's loads of other features about it. 720p HD, 60 frames per second. It's really perfect for airsoft, and it was awful. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. I've got it here. It's upstairs in a drawer. I don't even want to give it away. I know it sounds horrible.
Can I just come round and take it from you? Would that be okay then?
Give me your address after this. I'll send it to you. It's random. It's in the box. I don't want to give it away.
My mate's brought me cookies. Sorry.
Yeah. So there is always backlash. I mean, I've been quite strict about who I.
That's Mrs.
I've been quite strict about who I interact with, and been quite selective. So, you know, the stuff that comes through UK Tackle Warrior, there's always a certain level of expectation there. The stuff that comes through from Claw Gear, it's all military spec stuff, so it's always high end. And the same with the stuff from Thomas Jacks. You know, they've been supplying me with a lot of products. A lot of them are high end. You know, the thermal was like $3,000, and you know, they're all high end stuff. You don't normally get things at that price that are terrible products, if that makes any sense. So I have had a bit of backlash. I've had a video that I've had to remove. The ICU one didn't go down particularly well, but the rest of them I've been really honest about the products, and they have been good products, luckily enough. So yeah,
it's worth saying you would update the video if it was incorrect as well, like you have done before in the past.
Yeah. My I think Smudge was in here earlier. He's Combat Airsoft Grouper in here somewhere, but yeah. The original video that I put up for Warrior had some mistakes in it, and it's in my sponsorship video. I explain exactly how.
Yeah, I did see this. I did want to ask you about this during the break, but no, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I actually made a few mistakes about the materials and the way that the vest was composed. I think it was. Combat Airsoft Group probably correct me, but I'd made some mistakes. I hadn't meant to. I just made some open mistakes. They sent me a message about changing it and making some amends to the video. I pulled it straight down. I reshot it. I sent it over to them. They checked everything was fine. They didn't ever comment on whether I said it was good or bad. They just said that the details and the materials and the things that I was labeling sort of on the product were correct. And that's how it started. And since then, we've sort of had an ongoing relationship. So if it hadn't have been that I made that mistake, then maybe I wouldn't be potentially in the position that I am in now. So it happens. I don't get everything right. Some people have really good experience with these products. Some people don't like them. Some people do like them. We're all independent beings, you know, we've all got an opinion. So, you know, some things that work for me aren't going to work for other people. But if I've got something in my hands and I give it a review and I'm honest about it, then I can't do much more than that, really.
Cool.
Great. It's perfect.
That was concise.
Okay.
We've got a few more questions for you, unless Graham, you want to move on.
If we move on, we'll do the news. If you've got any QA for exactly. If you've got any questions for Random Trashy, save them just after the break. We'll have a rather large Q&A section there. I'm sure there's loads of questions coming in, and there have been quite a few. Tim's voice is like an angel, apparently, as I've just seen that. But right, so I just want to get a couple of news bits out before we do go to the break. This one can be rather quick. I will forward across now, and it is muted. The ASG Evo, so Scorpion Evo HPA edition, has been, it's been delayed in the UK. Potentially indefinitely at the moment.
This is utter bullshit.
Yep. So everyone was super excited. It's the Scorpion. It's done amazing over the last 2 years now. It's been out 18 months, something like that. HPA won, and everyone's expecting it March. And now the Firearms Act or Police Crime Act has now meant that is off the cards until they can sort out the legal issues and the fact of how the limits are. So there is a video playing at the moment, just to give you a quick run of it. What does everyone think of this? Is this something we should be worried about in the fact that are we going to have this?
I like the look of it. It's kind of sexy.
It's nice.
Oh, you're talking about the actual issue that we're all facing, right? Or a GBBR is potentially handling a Section 5.
Well, this is it, isn't it? Are we going to lose out on future models, future brands?
Well, supposedly, and I just want to draw this back. Recently on Floperator, we had Matt Fury King. Obviously, Graham, you were there on that episode. Just kind of really breaking down the full legislation of the PCA, the Policing and Crime Act, and the new amendment to it. That's now gone to Royal Assent. We're just waiting on the actual release date of when this going to be made a full law and actually enacted. What's happening is basically there are a few companies that have recently heard about the PCA, and they're working with the UCAPU and within the government themselves, the Home Office, to try and not even work around, but keep HPA and GBBR RIFs legal.
You probably find that UCARA are doing a lot of that work, and it's predominantly UCARA that are doing most of that work, and for all the absolute flack they get, they are the ones that have done the work. And God love UCAPU, they're great, but actually they're just a players' union. So actually they have no real power within the trade or within to make laws. They don't represent anybody apart from players. And the government doesn't give two hoots about players. It really doesn't. It cares. Doesn't care. But the only people that should be truly representative when it becomes to affecting airsoft is those whose livelihood it depends on. So retailers, sites, people insurance companies, the likes of ASG, the likes of Nuprol, and the likes of all the the other companies in the UK that are out there, trying to make UK airsoft and European airsoft awesome. It's these people that are out there that are actually, it's their houses, it's their mortgages. Us, it's a hobby. If airsoft got banned tomorrow, I'd be pissed off, but I wouldn't lose my house over it.
No.
So, the people whose houses depend on it, these are the ones that are actually fighting solid for it. Us as players are not. Doesn't have the funding to do anything. Sadly, because it's unfunded, UCAPU. I'm not against it at all. In fact, I totally support it. It's a great idea. But it's Frank and the other people at UCARA and Tim at the Airsoft Trade Body. He went to the initial meeting, and it's them that are actually doing the fighting and not UCAPU. People seem to forget that that's what the retailers pay their £300 a year for, not just access to a membership system where we can find out if you're have one of many legitimate defences, but the money goes into a fighting fund which is used to fight and to fight the police crime act. There you go.
So, do you think though, is this going to stop future manufacturers?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's possibly one of the worst things that could happen. I feel sorry for ASG having to do this because they have some really good, solid fans here in the UK. And to do that to them, they would not have wanted to do this. And Paul Wignall's a lovely, lovely guy, and he would absolutely bust his chops to get this to the UK market. ASG would not have wanted to do this. They would not have done it lightly. I just I don't know what the true reasoning behind it was. I can imagine it's an ASG Evo HPA being used as a as a criminal standpoint for some douchebag goes and breaks the law with it.
Yeah.
And I don't think they want their name attached to it.
No. Well, to be fair, we know ASG take this really seriously anyway. I mean, over in Denmark, they at the end, like you say, it's their business. So it wouldn't have been a decision taken lightly, and I know they knew they were going to be putting out a lot of people who have really been looking forward to this for months and probably well over a year on this respect now, since it's been talked about for a while. Okay, so I will just do the last bit of the news, and then we'll have a quick 5-minute break. And we're a bit late to this one here, but that's just where the show goes. If it's weekly, it is the Popular Airsoft Player Choice Awards. We won't go through all of them. There we go. Paul's already there with it. We won't go through all of them. I've kind of summarised just some of the ones which will affect most of the people on here. Feel free to shout out if you've got anything you want to say about this. So first off, it's the best airsoft retailer for Europe, and that's Gunfire. It's the Polish site. Goes back to some of the Saxon comments earlier, since they normally take quite a lot of comments on that one. Best gear retailer for Europe was Military First. I'm a big fan for them, to be honest. I use them for quite a bit. So
yeah, I used to.
Yeah, I've got a lot of bits for Military First for customer service and for getting products out. They are pretty rapid.
Yeah,
and to be fair, good. I'm into that.
To be fair, I love the fact that I can just go, right, what colour do you want? DPM, sorted. Show me everything I want. So, best Airsoft magazine is the one and only Airsoft Action. So, this is digital and print. But I'm sure the guys over there are really happy, and I saw Nigel was really happy the day that came out. So, well done to those guys. Yeah. I mean, lucky enough, Airsoft Nation featured last month, but I've been a big fan of them for a while. This one was interesting to me. Best English news website, which was Arnie's Airsoft.
Who?
Arnie's. I've not used
wow.
Arnie's for a long time, and I have an Arnie's account on their forum. It used to be really awesome, but I've kind of dropped off forums and things like that, and I always used to really like Arnie's. It always used to be a good place to get a decent review and a decent answer, rather than other ones where you would get a message similar to that.
That one.
Yeah, it was similar to when you first started Airsoft and you desperately wanted to ask that question. You just knew you were going to be ridiculed and flamed and made to look like an idiot and this, that, and the other. My lighting technician is just changing the lighting. He's I've got a man. I've got a man. I've got a manservant.
Yeah, technicians don't smoke. It takes
and I always used to like Arnie's, and I don't know why I dropped off the radar on it. I always found it to be really good. And I'm probably straight after this gonna have a good old look on it and see if my account's still active.
I was talking to Jez just yesterday. My account was from 2006, and I still log on there. It's crazy, but this is an award for English news. There is an award for forum and community, and it's not in there. So it's interesting that it's now kind of earned the award for news, but it used to be kind of the UK's forum. Used to be the place to buy and sell second-hand kit as well, and to the point they added minimum 100 posts to be able to see that area, which is still true today. They were one of the first people to try and stop the scamming. You had to have 100 posts on their forum before you could even see that area.
That's good. I won't see that then.
But yes, exactly. But yeah, it's good to still see him going. Yeah, I'm the same. I don't know how much they use nowadays. I know the sales area is pretty dead for the UK anyway. Moving on was the best Airsoft blog, which is Airsoft and Milsim news blog. It's not
shit! I wanted that.
It's not something I'm particularly aware of on that front. I don't know if you've seen much of them, Tim.
Yeah, I think I've come across them a couple of times with a few articles that they've written, but they tend to be quite heavily in favour of the product. Like, there's no, from these guys, especially with a written review. I mean, some of the stuff from like the Reptile House or S23 or someone like that, they will give you the guts. And these kind of seem to be more of a worded version of what I do at times, where you just give a solid product overview, which I think can work if you're representing it with video.
Yeah.
But if you've got a few pictures and words, you may as well read the description on the website and have a flick through the gallery. Do you know what I mean? I hope that makes sense.
No, that's right.
I know one of the guys who writes for it, Aaron, and he's a devilishly good lad, and there's an awful lot of work that goes into it as well. And I think the written review pages are going to become obsolete, and a lot like yours, Tim, they're going to become more video based because people actually want to see it being, for want of a better word, handled and used and played with, rather than here's a picture, here's some words, here's what we think about it. When actually, I am very, very guilty of reading something the wrong way.
Yeah.
Rather than hearing it in your voice, where you can say it's a good bit of kit, and actually you could go, it's a good bit of kit.
Yeah.
The true communication aspect of it is lost. Writing, whereas it should be on video.
No, exactly. Next up, we've got Best Airsoft Community / Forum, which goes to Airsoft Society. Again, I've got an account, but I don't really use it.
Never used it.
No. .com. Don't know if that says much for it, but whether it's more American based. It's a big forum, but again, it's not something I'm particularly, and it's an old school forum. Best Airsoft Podcast goes to Airsoftology.
Oh, I wanted that one as well.
Brilliant. Love it. I love it.
So yeah, obviously Jonathan.
No, it is a great podcast to listen to.
A lot of work.
It's for the work that he puts in. It comes out so fantastic. If I had the same setup, I'd probably be smashing out the same numbers as well.
Yeah, all right. By the way, why you hate your Borat mankini? Have you still got it, and will you wear it?
There used to be actually a group on Facebook, like a private group of I don't know if I should say that. Oh, fuck it, I'll say it anyway. There used to be a group of content creators on Facebook, and the guys from Airsoft Military News created it, and they put a load of content providers in there. And the idea it was going to be like a back scratching exercise for everyone. So Jonathan was in there, myself, Matt the Musketeer, Femvitel, loads and loads of like content providers from all different sides. And the idea was that we'd kind of cross pollinate audiences. And links used to go in there for people's content, and it wouldn't even get a like. Like, it would come up under the corner, seen by 44 people. Did anyone share it, comment about it, like, or cross-pollinate? Nope. Ooh. Not once. Not once.
Brutal.
So it was all left. But one of the guys that used to contribute to it a lot and was quite open to cross-pollinate and all that sort of thing was Jonathan. And I did speak to him a few times. What a great guy. Genuinely, what a really, really good guy. Not kissing ass or something, but out of all the people that were in there, he was one that was kind of willing to talk about collaboration and live streams and interviews and all that sort of thing. But there was a lot of other content that was posted on there that was like, just remember it coming up as like seen by 44 people, and yet like not one comment or good word or that was great or I'll share it or anything. It was quite funny. It didn't last very long.
Content producers not scratching each other's backs. Nice. Okay, the next one I've kind of just all summarised into one. So this is Best Parts, Lalux. Best Pyros, Airsoft Innovations. Pistol was ASG's CZ.
Oh, the Shadow.
Yeah, P09.
Oh, I love that.
Really good pistol from what I've seen. Mark was using it at one of the events. And then we're going to have a running theme here. So, Best Gas Blowback was the TM-M4A1. The shotgun was the TM-M870. The sniper rifle was the TM-VSR10. The AEG was a TM416D, and the best manufacturer, if you haven't guessed it already, yeah, exactly.
Now, could you imagine the backlash that would have got
Yeah,
if every single one of those categories got TM
Yeah,
and
so
the manufacturer picked somebody else?
so
how strong would that be?
yeah, so yes, so TM obviously a bit of a clean sheet there.
Didn't they do that last year?
Yes, yeah, I believe this is the second or third year. This has been a pretty much clean streak. It does surprise me with some of the stuff ASG's brought out, but there's been a lot of other people bringing out good stuff. At the end of the day, also what the weighting of this award is more of a popular vote, isn't it? But TM's a good brand; it's been around since forever, and I mean, if you look at any of those guns, I don't think anyone would say they're bad guns.
I've got a 416D.
Yep.
It's the best thing I've ever used.
Yep, exactly. VSL10, it's what most of the snipers use. Obviously, stock for not great, but they're the better of. No sniper rifle stock's ever going to be amazing. Shotgun, yeah, again, it's M870's everyone's dream shotgun, really, there, isn't it? So, yeah, I don't think there's any surprises on that one. Just a bit of a whitewash, really. And then, lastly, the most important award of them all, something we've all been pushing for, was the Special Airsoft Player Award, which I'm super, super impressed and proud of the community. Mark, Airsoft Denmark. There you go, Paul's got the patch. Now I have to lean over and grab mine. There we go. So, Airsoft Denmark. Yeah, well deserved. Obviously, for anyone who doesn't know, Mark passed away late last year. Yeah, the day after we all played together with him, actually. But he had some big goals for the future, and it was good to see the community get behind that, and obviously a big loss to the community. And so with that, it's 9:05, I believe. It's time for a 5-minute break. Before we go on a break,
lag out.
Yes, before the break, I'm well aware of the lag. I'm going to have a quick look into it now. It's first episode, people, so we'll see how we get on. Right, I will put that on break now.
Right, I'm going to shift over a little bit because I think the way I'm cropped.
And we're back. Thank you very much for bearing with us for a few minutes.
I had a wank break.
Yeah, just to say before we continue, we are aware of the lag. If it's that unbearable right now, feel free. You can come back to this video later on tonight. It'll be uploaded to YouTube, and you can continue on. I'll have a look as to why and what's going on with this. But teething issues first episode. Let's just say that. For those who aren't having issues, I hope you are enjoying yourselves, and let us know on feedback.
Can't expect to dominate the world on day one. Let's at least wait to day 3.
Exactly. So let's continue the discussion now and do a bit more switch over to Tim or Milsims. So let's start at the beginning, Tim. How long have you been playing Airsoft for? And we'll go from there.
I've been playing for about 5 years, maybe a little bit over, so about 5.5 years.
Okay, and you started YouTube after four years ago?
Yeah, it was like around the beginning period, really. But the way that I structured the channel is like my introduction. So although during the very beginning videos, it didn't get released really until I had sort of started playing. So yeah, it was a bit of a difficult one, really, because I wanted the channel to show my journey into Airsoft and all of the kind of hurdles that you have to get over. But by the time I had actually finalised the videos and got things rolling and that sort of thing, I was actually quite actively playing. But I think the transition for me was quite quick. I only really done about 2 or 3 skirmishes, really, before I went and done the Valley. So
wow,
it was a real steep learning curve for me.
Yeah, that would have been rather quick. So did you kind of always had in mind that you were going to go straight into Milsims? Is that something that
I didn't even know what Milsim was. I just was a junkie for getting stuck in. And once I started playing, you know, we would go out in the morning and the guys would all come back and I'd be like, I'm just going to stay out. And then people would come out and I, by that point, got myself onto a good position. And then by the end of the day, I was just left like completely itchy trigger finger, just wanting to carry on playing. And someone said to me, I think it was like the 3rd event, I think it was about October, something like that, and we were playing in like real ice and stuff. They were like, "Oh, dude, you'd love the Valley," and that was it. I signed up for the November event, and obviously the end of November there, I think it was like -5 on the drive in, and by the time we got into the Valley, it must have been about -10. Everything was frozen solid. And for the first sort of event, I was looked after by the Sterling guys. I really was. They were really good with me. They were forgiving. I sort of rolled with their top sort of team, and they were good in looking after me and making sure that I done okay and got through it all right. So yeah, it was a steep learning curve for me. But after going and doing that, I kind of come back to anything else, and I just feel a little bit deflated. I guess you don't get that the drive that you get from being in an environment like that, and how difficult it is. And you know, you get your Bergen out the back of the car on Friday, and then you're living out of that Bergen until you put it back in the car on Sunday. You know, there's no going back to the car park or going back to a fob building or anything like that anywhere with power. There's no generators, there's no running power, there's no running water, there's nothing. So, and I got a bit of a kick out of that. Felt like I come back a little bit more of a man.
So how many Milsims?
Tell me.
Go on, Paul.
Go on. Sorry, Paul.
So tell me, as a guy that doesn't really enjoy Milsims, why should I go to a Milsim? Convince me, the non-Milsim player, why I should come to a Milsim. And I mean that in a broad spectrum. I don't mean me personally. That's kind of
I think there's a bit of a caveat to that, and the fact of that is that if you don't have the drive to want to go and do them, I probably would advise you not to go. And that is not on the essence of going to do somewhere like Stanta, where you could probably get by with sitting in a building or getting in a cushy fob and sitting with your jet boil and, you know, just sort of kicking around. I just think to myself, like, you have to want to go to these events to achieve something. You've got to go with drive and with passion and kind of excited about going. You've got to go with kind of a mentality of a point to prove or a goal to achieve. And I think if you don't do that, one, you could be injured if you're not concentrating, if your brain's not switched on, and you're kind of crossing loads of sheep runs that are caked with ice, and it's getting dark at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You know, I've seen a lot of injuries in the valley, and I shouldn't probably say that, but there has been a lot of injuries from people not watching where their feet are going. They're tired, they've got a Bergen on, they've only brought 2 litres of water for the whole weekend, and they're beginning to get dehydrated. They've got a helmet on with their comms, and they're getting a headache, and they're not focusing. And then you see someone slip and fall and begin to lose their sort of motor skills almost. And so if you're going to go without a strong mentality, there's a risk of, one, being injured, and two, you not enjoying it. I mean, they're not cheap. So if I was to convince someone, I would make sure that they really want to go and push themselves, especially with CAG. You know, they were in here earlier, and I think, Graham, we were having a chat about this. I think if you're going to go to one of their events, you need to really want to go and enjoy it. And I think, you know, it's not for everyone. It's not something that everyone wants to go and do. But if you are interested in them, you will have a phenomenal experience. If you've got that push and drive to go and want to do it, then go and do it. But some people don't, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. My big concern is not about bravado, ego, or people wanting to go to these events to say they've been or to belittle other people. I want people to go to enjoy it, but I want people to go there, be safe, have fun and enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? And when you're going to these places like Otterburn or the Valley, there is a potential for injury or hypothermia or small inch sprains, those sorts of things where people lose their footing, or you're walking on slate, you know, frozen over slate, you twist your ankle or whatever. I mean, there was a dislocated hip at one of the events that I went to. You know, it happens. People get hurt. And if your mind and sort of heart isn't in that event, then that could really spell, you know, the end of airsoft for you. So I would just want people to go that are keen on doing it. Do you know what I mean? I think someone just said in the chat, start on the smaller ones. You know, give some of the day games a go. Yeah, totally. Go and have a taster for it. Don't throw yourself in at the deep end. You know, go and try these different events. Go camping with your mates. See how your setup works. See how comfortable you are out overnight under a basher during the summer. You know, don't rock up to one of these and throw yourself in, especially if you're not in it, if you don't feel well or whatever. You know, you're not going to enjoy it, and it's also a waste of money. You know, this weekend's going to cost me probably close to 300 quid, I think. Wow. So it's not a cheap weekend. Time I've driven to Wales and back, the event's about £100. By the time you pay for all your consumables, food, water, and all that sort of thing, like you guys know the drill.
No hotels?
They're not cheap.
No, it's a Milsim, not an RAF sim. Okay, not checking.
Yeah, no, you know, it's one of those. Castle just put in there, APOC hosts some good intro events, totally. You know, and the guys there will cater for you, you know, for helping you get settled of a night out on the ground. Someone else has just put in that chat as well about accepting under 18s. The problem with the under 18 thing is you won't be allowed on a military site if you're under 18. So the ones out in the woods and the ones that you get from some companies that are doing these Milsims on their own land, that's fine. But if you do any of the big ones with Combat Airsoft Group or Sterling, you won't be able to go onto a military site if you're under 18, as far as I'm aware anyway.
And that's
might want to correct me on that, Paul.
Yeah, site insurance, isn't it, if they're overnight as well? Depends if they're 24 hours or 12 hours, don't they, I suppose?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. Paul, you probably know more about that than me.
Insurance for night games is difficult. You can get it, but you pay an awful lot of money for it. I know of some insurers that require every single participant to have a map and a torch, even during the day, to be, you know, and that's a lot of things are kind of weird. I mean, I'm going through the insurance and I'm really lucky. I work very close. I work with and speak personally to my insurance broker, and you know, and he can give me a PDF and say, "Can you comply with all this?" And yes, very, very easily. And then when I start adding, okay, I want to add this, I want to add that, I want to add the other, and you just, night games are a nightmare to run. They're a nightmare to manage because if somebody falls and doesn't have a torch on them, you're looking for a guy in a wood wearing camouflage, unconscious. There's no more difficult thing to do, and that's where I believe that it's down to the event organizer to have risk assessed that type of thing. So if I ever run a night game at night, one of the things I'll be doing is I'll be taking a thermal imager with me to try and find. If somebody goes down, you can find them. That's just my point of view.
Just something on the chuck in here. We had a question for RandomTrashy. When do you think a milsim stops being a milsim? Is it about the immersion or your time in the field? Does it have to be at least 24 hours? Can you extend it out? Because, there's a few that you, myself, and Graham been on that have lasted from Friday afternoon all the way through till the end of a Sunday skirmish.
Yeah. I'm not sure if that question was orientated around the milsim thread that was put up, because obviously the guy Andy has referenced the Octo 8 thing, and that's kind of where all this kicked off. I'm not saying that it has to be 24 hours, but I do think there is a big difference between being at a field for 8 hours and being at a field for 24 hours or 48 hours. And we were talking about this before we went live earlier, and the big thing for me is that being self-sufficient for 8 hours is, in my eyes, very easy. And I don't think that there's any real taskings for getting a fob set up, getting a bed set up, all those sorts of things that come with a 24-hour event that can add complications, such as navving in the night, getting back to your fob or whatever. Even using your equipment, gear, stowing stuff away in the pitch black can be an absolute test. So I'm not going to open up this kind of debate again of saying it has to be 24 hours, but I think moving into the dark night, moving overnight and into the following day can add a lot more complications that I think push it more towards being a milsim, or more towards being a more complex event. So there is like Octo 8, and there's a few other companies that run these kind of day-long milsims. But a lot of the feedback that was put into that conversation was that a lot of them just were objective-based skirmishes. A lot of the feedback that was in that conversation as well was from very well-respected members of I Frozen.
Yeah, if you want to take the mic off, take the webcam off and put it back on again, you can carry on. If we have to, we'll re-add you.
Yeah, so
Perfect.
I just think that the time thing is something that is going to come down to personal preference. The guys from Octo 8 seem to think they can run a full milsim in 8 hours. That's down to them. I haven't been to one of their events. I probably won't get invited to one of their events. But that's down to what they want to put on. For me, I'm not going to go and do an 8-hour event and put it in the milsim side of my experiences, because for me it just isn't. Now that's probably being a little bit harsh, but like I say, I've done the CAG and Sterling stuff. For me, you've got to push yourself, you've got to be self-sufficient, and those sorts of things for me push it towards being a milsim, as well as taskings, command structure, immersion, and the type of the type of operations that you're going to conduct. So there's a lot that adds up to whether an event is a milsim or not, but I think it's personal preference. What is a milsim to Paul might not be a milsim to me, and what is a milsim to Graham might be something completely different to all these different teams. I've taken the feedback within that group from a hell of a lot of different people. Fles was in there with Task Force, with Cold Spear. Task Force Spear was in there. The guys from Task Force 67 piped up in there. The guys from Odin wrote in there. Now, as far as I'm concerned, those guys are some of the top tier, or at least in my eyes, well-respected teams within the milsim community. A lot of them have put in that they feel that 8-hour ones are more of an objectified skirmish. And then when you look towards CAG, Sterling, Tier 1 and those sorts of things, they are in a different league. And that's kind of how I see it too. So it's open to debate.
I heard an event by CAG was described as more of a, rather than a simulation, as more of a, not a reenactment would be the wrong word because you're not reenacting anything. It was more of a role play immersion event, a bit like what HTIS do. Their events are very, very little at airsoft, but actually more about the experience. And I think that's where Milsim, in my mind, is going, to more private invite events, for want of a better word, as well. And I think that's only a good thing. And that might make me sound like a prick that just wants his mates to go and play. But actually, you know, a lot of these events do attract the dickheads. And if you can weed them out and know that every single guy on the field you're with is of the same mindset and wants the same thing, even though they might want slightly different things, but are all there for, you know, the immersion level. That's where I see really, really high-end Milsim going. I see it not being open to the public, and I see it literally just being the core community, and it being, okay, I've got a mate, can he come? Yeah, we've had a slot drop out, and that's how I see the UK Milsim. Or even, I'm gonna probably upset a few people here and not call it a Milsim, the UK modern military reenactment with airsoft guns going, because that's how it's going.
Oh, it's been like that for a while, though. I mean, I'm sure Tim knows that there are a lot of invite-only events. I mean, Sterling did that last year? I know they've gone more public this year, but I think last year they were pretty much invite-only, weren't they?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot out there. Someone was asking me actually about, I put my Q&A up today, and someone asked me what events I'm doing, and the majority of them I said were invite only, and a few people had sent me a few, not shitty messages, but, you know, they were disappointed that they couldn't come and do the event with me. And I think that's one, for player protection, but two, also to stop the wrong type of people turning up. And that's not my definition of a player, but that is the site owner or the event owner. Yes, Sterling do invite only. Sometimes that is to stop people from turning up with the wrong kit or with inefficient kit. Combat Airsoft Group do that as well. They're doing invite only stuff. Even Apocalypse Airsoft, which is local to all of us, they're doing invite only stuff. So yes, it will piss people off, but I think there is kind of a need for it in some essence. I mean, I know why the Sterling guys do it. They're quite well known, but there's a team of guys that turned up to Sterling in November. It was either November or February. It was a long time ago, but they turned up in like desert gear, desert lower boots, desert trousers, Gen 2 cries with like the open mesh around the top of them, a Gen 2 BDU, and they'd bought a day sack with them with space blankets in. And it's quite a popular story. Now, I turned up there for full Bergen, gaiters, Gore-Tex, 2 or 3 layers, jet boil, like a full 65-litre Bergen. They got out of a taxi, and quite a few people obviously know about it. It's quite common, but they were close to hypothermia, pretty much. Yep. Stage 1 hypothermia. As Dave Manning, who is one of the key Sterling guys, actually drove the Wimmick into a forest to pick them up because they couldn't walk out. The following day, on the walk up to the car park, which is from where we were up the side of the valley, and then it goes flat, and that's where the car park is. This is where I was talking about not mentally being with it, and the guy was really struggling, and he was saying that he's asthmatic and he has problems breathing, and they were just literally trying to get him to the car park, and where he just wasn't focusing on his footing, every 4 or 5 steps he was falling onto his hands and knees. There was a potential there to be really injured, and so that's why I totally sit behind a business if they say, you know, they do those higher end events and they want to do invite only. I can agree, because we're not just talking about not having someone there that potentially is an idiot, but we're talking about people's safety. And this is what I brought up in that conversation. Some guys are not going to be ready to go and do that.
So it's not just the physical prep though, is it? It's the mental prep as well.
Mental prep and having sometimes the right kit. You know, sometimes that is
obviously. that's the first thing, really.
That is key. You know, you're going to Wales in February. and you know your feet are going to be in. It's a valley, so anywhere below, you know, as you're getting into the bed of the valley, is mush. You know, it's mush. So your feet are ankle, knee deep in mush, icy, frozen mud, and wet water. And then through the middle of that valley is a river, which, you know, I mentioned earlier that, you know, quite a few people move up and down because it gives you a low noise signature. You can sort of sneak up it without having to go through a load of brush and crossing barbed wire fences and all those sorts of things. So you're going to get wet, you're going to lug kit around, and safety is then key. And that's something that Smudge spoke about at Otterburn. You know, you're navigating at night. You have to be independent. You have to be aware of being able to move around at night. And some people just have never experienced that before. I would hate to be doing my first Milsim at Otterburn. It would break me.
How would you start? What would you say if someone was like, look, I've watched your videos, I've got some kit, you know, bar the night vision, I've got a Bergen, you know, I've read what I can learn. What would you say? Would you say go for these smaller Milsims, you know, battle sims, however you want to say, you know, these 8 hour, 12 hours, and then build your way up to a 24-hour one, you know, so you get the overnight experience, or even a few night games?
Yeah, I mean, night games are done by Apocalypse Airsoft on a Wednesday night. You can go down there and test out how your night setup works. I'm not saying that you need to go and have decent MV. A good torch works. Yeah. You know, white light is just as powerful.
A good torch works to attract enemies.
It does, but if they're wearing night vision, you're also blinding them. And if you've got a strong, I mean, we had guys there a few weeks ago, the Burt brothers, you know, they're quite popular airsofters. They knew that we all had good NV, and they took strobe lights, and it ruined us, and then it's ruined all the other guys that had naked vision as well. Because as soon as you strobe someone, they're almost incapacitated, and then as soon as they shut their eyes, they're still seeing strobing light. By that time, the enemy's either moved away or they've engaged you to the point where you're dead. And you know, a white light is still a very, very effective tool when everyone is wearing night vision. Okay, it might attract you if you've got it pointed down at the ground and you're using it for navigation. But if you're using red light for navigation, then that's a bonus. So, you know, there's pros and cons.
Sorry, I should laugh, but I have seen people do that.
Yeah, you know, it does happen. But yeah, get to a night game, try your camping skills. Just try, you know, being able to go to your backpack with all the lights off, know what's in what pocket. It sounds stupid and it sounds like something that you'd never do, but trying to find a lighter or a spoon or batteries or BBs or whatever it may be in the pitch black, maybe 2-3 o'clock in the morning, you come under attack, and you need to change the battery in your gun, or you need to locate something, you know, used to just being in your kit. Yeah. There's so many basics that you can do without even going to an event. You know, set up a battery in your back garden, throw your kit out there, just see what it's like. You know, stay out there till 11. Do you know what I mean? Sit on your phone, watching videos, do whatever, just to see what it's like, especially when it's cold. You know, but then when you're looking at events, you know, there are plenty that you can go and try out. There's weekenders that are less intensive. These events that stop. Actually, I don't know. I mean, there's airborne and stuff. I mean, they stop at like 5-6 o'clock and then have like a parlay period from what I'm aware of, and then it kicks off the next day. Whether that's going to benefit you or not, I don't know, because you could just go and do a day game.
Yeah, there is. It's almost like you've got to work your way up, and then you'll get those invites just natively by, you know, being more involved, isn't it? Yeah, it's probably pretty dangerous to walk straight into a Sterling or anything like that without prior experience or without kind of really feeling confident in yourself. And like Paul said earlier, you know, when he said sell me joining the Milsim, I think if you've got to be sold a Milsim, you're probably not the person to go in the first place, because you've got that in your head. You want to do them.
Yeah, you've got to be driven, and that's why I didn't want to say to Paul, like, well, don't go then, because I don't think you can. Well, yeah, I mean, if you're not actively going, I don't think that I should be sat here dragging people to Milsims. If that isn't your bag, it's not your bag. Like, and there's no, you know, and people think that there's a lot of bravado around it, and people say, oh, I do Milsims and I just do Milsims because I'm cool, and It's not about that. And I'm not about that at all. I think some people get that from my channel, and I'm really not about that. I still go up APOC. I was up there with Castle a few weeks ago, and a few other guys. I was up there with James Bailey or Kicking Mustang. We had a right good blast. I got to have a blowout with all my boys. We threw a load of pyro around. I got to kick it with a load of people that know me from YouTube, which I always like. And say hello to some people and chat to the guys up there. Like, I'm all about that as well. But my heart lies with really going for a severe milsim, whether it's the Valley or Otterburn or whatever, or the fob stuff is really good. Carewent, Stanter, Catterick, Copel Down, they're all great sites. They're so much fun. They're very easy going. It's all concrete stuff. You're not going to be worried about laying in a pissy puddle for the night. They're really good sites. Even maybe going to them, if you have done a couple of Milsim day games and you're okay with a bit of camping or whatever, you've got a decent night kit set up, then go try one that's actually on a military base.
In your environment.
Yeah, go and do something that's urban.
I'm going to try a battle sim at MOD Dalton.
There we go.
No shameless plug intended.
The invite is there. Paul, I said the last 10 minutes to promote yourself.
Like Paul's got it on the head. Go and try an event with people that are going to look after you. Don't turn up to these events and expect guys to come and really look after you, because with Sterling you're kind of expected to be self-sufficient. So if you go to them and it's raining and you'll be like, well, I didn't bring a jacket to keep me dry, then that's kind of your fault. And you still see it. You see it at Sterling events, you see it at CAG. Guys turn up to events and it's raining and they're like, well, I don't want to go out and get wet. It even happens to now. So I think that's why they kind of cherry pick people. It's a good idea. But yeah, Paul's got events going. Go and check Paul's events out. Go and try them. Try stuff on a military base that might be a little bit more easygoing, and just test your skills out. Stay in your garden. Go and do a bit of camping. Get your boys together. Go into the woods and test out. Just staying under a basher, setting all your kit up. Just try it. I think, and then if you really have got a favour for it and you think, yeah, this is awesome, then go and try some Milsim events. And speak to Matt at Sterling. He always gives people advice. There's a kit list that normally goes up, a basic kit list. It's definitely not everything you're going to need, but it'll give you a good idea, and go from there. And again, as soon as you start to feel uncomfortable, not enjoy it, feel that it's a waste of money or anything like that, then just turn away from it and go back to what you do enjoy doing. Only do it if you really love it.
Would you say night vision's required at those type of events, you Sterlings?
I didn't for the majority of it, I haven't been able to get night vision. It's just not been a priority.
Yeah.
It just hasn't. So as I say, if you've got decent white light and you practice the odd bit of CQB and just your weapons handling, you've got a good little group of guys, you can cause havoc without it.
It's probably key to say that turning up with groups is probably a better experience with these Milsims as well, isn't it? I mean, you can turn up on your own, but it's going to be a lot more hard work than if there's a group of you. And that's half of it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's half the battle for sure. Turning up with a group to these events is going to give you a massive upper hand. One, you're going to know the guys, you're going to know how they act, you're going to be able to interact with them with a little bit more confidence than if you go there on your own, because you get kind of thrown into a nomad group, which is, they never seem to enjoy themselves as much as the teams. Don't take that wrong. Like, I don't want the event providers to get pissed off with that, but they don't, because they don't gel like a group of mates. If you're moving into a building and the back guy is facing forward and you don't know him that well, you're going to be less inclined to turn around and go, get the 6, or really grill him about something, than if it's one of your mates and you're like, get the 6. It's just,
it's confidence in knowing each other, isn't it? Yeah.
And also, without sort of demeaning any other types of players, which I do try not to do, you are going up against a higher caliber of people.
Yeah.
I believe in skill set. If these guys do Sterling day in, day out, they're at FOBs or military bases all the time. They know the landscape. They know the lay of the land. They practice, something like Cold Spear have got this weekend just practicing CQB the entire weekend. So they're going to know their drills quite well. So if you do go up against them, these guys have trained for that. Do you know what I mean? So in some aspects, you're going to go up against a skilled, I say that loosely, a skilled player. So any type of practice, any type of group you can go with, if you've got your comms locked up, you've got roles set as well, that can really help. The guys that I roll with, we've got a dedicated medic, a guy that is always the medic no matter what. We've got a guy that's just does RO, and he's always the RO. He's really good on comms. He knows all the radios inside and out. He gets us all onto the same net. He will sort all the nets out and everything. That is kind of his job. And then we have a TL that is always the same TL, and he's like the front man. So if we go into any buildings, anything like that, he's the front of the stack. He calls the shots. No one says anything. You don't backchat him. When you're going into a building or taking on an operation or you're taking on any type of tasking, he tells you what to do. And for us, that works flawlessly. But if you're going to rock up on your own, those types of things become more complicated.
Absolutely. So, talking about your team, where have been your favourite Milsims?
Otterburn.
Otterburn.
I sold my soul to Smudge at Otterburn. I really did.
What'd you get for it?
Nothing. Absolute broke. I felt like I was going to die. So the trip up to Otterburn, I spoke to Smudge. He invited me to the event. I said I really want to go. Bearing in mind there's loads of other Milsim teams going, like Reaper Crew were going, and Cobalt and a few other guys. And Smudge invited me to go up. Bearing in mind it's an 8-hour drive for me. So I left at like 5 o'clock Friday morning. Done the 8-hour drive. We got onto the site about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We went into our FOB building, put everything down, started getting briefed. I was given the role of lead scout. And this kind of is what you've got to expect at these events. So I was given a map. I didn't know how to do bearings. And I was taught very quickly by one of the guys there how to do bearings and map management, how to do low light stuff, how to read maps, how to give the comms back to the team, how far I should be away from them, how I'm going to contact them if I come into contact, and what they should do. I should be like 10, 15 minutes in front, all those sorts of drills. I laid on my bed for about half an hour. Then we got into the back of a white panel van that Smudge was driving. He talks about doing a discreet drop-off, and we got dropped off early hours of Saturday morning. So by this point, I'd done an 8-hour drive, then had like a very intense lesson on how I was going to manage being out in front of the team. Got my burger on all that lot, and then was dropped out onto the ground. And I slept Sunday lunchtime for about 4 hours and then done an 8-hour drive home. So when I say I sold my soul in that period, if any of you guys have been to Otterburn or you've seen the lay of the land there or where the guys do their training, it is
savage,
horrid. Especially when you've got a burger on, you know, and you're trying to conduct yourself in a decent manner and stay switched on and be alert and run comms and do the map work, and especially navving at night. It's very, very difficult. And that's why, you know, I enjoyed that. I learned the most from it. I learned more about myself as well. You know, what you're able to accomplish and what you're able to be able to just push through and do and just get on with and put some stuff to the back of your mind that you shouldn't be thinking about at the time, but you do, and just get on with it. And that is what CAG, for me, really opened my eyes to something new. But at the same time, I've had some really great events with Sterling. That's why I talk about them a lot, because I've had good experiences with them.
Absolutely.
You know, the boat crossing stuff at the sandpit with Sterling was just amazing. Snuck down to a boat, all got night vision on, jumped on this boat in the pitch black, belted across the lake, come up behind the back of a building. There's like loads of guys standing out the front smoking, and they had no idea we were there. And we were there for about 20 minutes, just waiting to get eyes on the target. As soon as they all went in, snuck through where all the lights were off and went into them in the building where they were all kind of sitting gassing, and just cleared the room. And they had no idea. It was just like the whole time your heart's just pounding that someone's going to turn around and see you, while we were sort of sneaking around all their buildings. It was awesome. So those types of scenarios for me are the ones that stand out.
And they're the stories you don't forget, aren't they, really? And that's what builds you guys as a team. So, no,
it's
that's
stuff to enjoy, yeah.
Okay. I had a few things to mention. I'm aware time's getting on, so I'm going to have to cut some of this already. So let's hear about your YouTube channel. What's going on? before we go on to some of the Q&A questions we've had. Right now, obviously, you're in the middle of releasing the huge amount of content on the Ultimate Guide to Milsim. Need that fine print and everything like that after today. But yes, go on. Tell everyone who's interested in Milsims or who's involved in Milsims what you're currently laying out at the moment, and what YouTube lays in future for you for this year.
So the Ultimate Guide really wasn't meant to sort of cover all bases. The Ultimate Guide was meant to be that it would cover anything that anyone wanted to know. So I just sort of said, no holds barred, let me know what unique guys want to know about, and I'll do it. And there's already been some really good questions about like what people are going to need for staying overnight. You know, what I would recommend for people if they're going to go and do their first Milsim, what would be the first 3 purchases that they make. So some really good key questions to get people going. I've got a massive load of stuff coming from Thomas Jacks, which I'm really looking forward to. They've just got back from SHOT Show, so they've got loads of new pulsar goodies, loads of night vision, loads of thermal stuff, and they've got some stuff at the budget end as well, which I'm really looking forward to see. New products from Warrior are coming out this year. New stuff from Claw Gear, which is always really good, because that's sort of staple stuff that I use day in, day out. And yeah, towards the end of the year, hopefully wrapping up this Milsim guide, getting out on the ground, speaking to some of the Milsim providers and getting them on board for some content, and then hopefully doing some collabs. I do get asked a lot about doing gameplay. I think as we've all kind of got to today, it's just so demanding, and with the other stuff that I provide, it's not something that I'm going to do. So I won't be going on to do any gameplay footage. But yeah, loads of stuff coming to the channel content-wise, whether it be reviews, whether it be stuff around Milsims, after game reports, and getting people going. I mean, you know, I don't want this to be elitist. I want more people coming to these events. I want more people walking away with the same buzz that I get. You know, I've driven home many a times. The second I've got out the front gate of the fob, I'm on the phone to the rest of the guys. We're on a group chat or something, and we're just all buzzed, you know. And I'm still going into work Monday morning, absolutely like, oh man, that was amazing, that was amazing. I want people to have that same passion and kind of buzz from going to these events as I do. So yeah, I'll be trying to bring as many people to the Milsim side of things as possible.
Cool. And there's one thing I did want to mention. Just because I don't see many airsofters doing it, or the YouTubers, your Cloud9 experience with the film set.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of come of me just wanting to do something a bit more, push the boundaries a little bit of like the typical media that comes out. And I think at the time, Enola Gay were releasing some really cool media with Dan Foo Fighter. And I love Dan, and we always have banter about, you know, us representing both sides of the kind of smoke and pyrotechnic side of things. So Dan was doing some really cool stuff, and I was like, right, I'm going to get a team together, and I'm going to put something together that's like next level, and we're going to involve more complicated aspects of it, like having the drone, and we had like 2 guys there for the day doing filming, and we had a steady cam set up, and yeah, it was a really, really fun day. But we really kind of tried to push the limits of what was being done within the marketing side of airsoft. And yeah, that was just something I want to do more of. But with any type of filming like that comes budget, and at the minute I just don't have it to hand to kind of do something that is expendable. I didn't make any money from that. I didn't get anything from it. I had a contract before that with Cloud9 for product. I didn't get any more product because of it. I literally done it because I wanted to, not to get something back out of it. So the next one, which kind of is in the planning, probably won't be this year, but there is something I want to do next. Yeah, that will be something else. But I need some money.
Tell us then.
I can't. I mean, the issue with anything like that, especially when you introduce a production house and a storyline script and those sorts of things, a lot of it becomes very hazy. You know, there's no set story at the moment. We've got an idea. We've got an idea of what the production company want to provide. We've got an idea on locations, but the last location, that boatyard, and I contacted everyone. I was doing this all day, every single night, looking for a location. As soon as I mentioned firearms, like imitation firearms, anything like that, they run a mile. The guy who owns the boatyard had just bought it. He'd just done. Is it Dunkirk? he's got a World War II boat, and he was filming Dunkirk at the time, so he was really into the firearms and stuff, and that's why he let us use it. Other than that, I went absolutely everywhere. And the other location we were looking at is where they filmed World War Z, which is an old Pfizer's building in Sandwich in Kent, but they wanted £1,500 a day. So we were looking at 2 days, plus we had to pay for damages that the smoke were going to make for using them inside. The budget just ended up getting too much. Where we're looking at the moment, just equipment-wise, is 10 grand. So that's just why it's all very hazy at the moment. I'm trying to get the production company to cover some of it because they're going to, have the predominant amount of footage sat there as stock. So I'm trying to work on something, but it's just very difficult.
I presume Cloud9 are using some of that footage, are they?
Yeah, they use it for their promotion. They're in a bit of a difficult spot at the moment, but they do use it for their promotion and stuff. So, it's at their trade show, it's at their stand. They've got it on the telly in their office of their building and all that sort of thing. So it's used, and it gets a lot of attention as well. Even the photography that came from it, I still think is very, very high end in comparison to a lot that's out there. No,
absolutely. Right, in the final few minutes, do we have any questions go forward? I've had to shut chat, so I'm hoping Carlo's seen if there's anything in there.
No, not so much. I mean, there's just questions going on between each other in the chat, not so much a random trashy.
Right, okay, guys, what we'll do, we'll find out what everyone's up to this week. If you've got any questions, bear in mind, Random Trashy gets to pick his favourite question asked, and they will win an Airsoft Nation patch when I've got them. Until then, let's just round up with what everyone's up to this week. And I presume we will start with Paul. What are you up to?
Me this week. Right, this
got
week,
the red book out.
Mostly be eating bourbon creams. No, this week I will. This week I will be planning my my Mother's Day massacre at Combat Splat Paintball site for Airsoft. I will be trying my very, 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 very best to get a date for MOD Dalton to play on that as an active military site. So I'll be getting the dates for that sorted.
Cool.
And I will be looking at another site which is a active military base as well, to use a part of their training area which has a few more buildings in it. So I am all about the active bases at the minute. Yeah, it seems to be something that's kind of a niche of mine. So yeah, I'll be running MOD Dalton as soon as I can. It's all dealing with the DOI. So that's, for those of you who don't know, that's Department of Infrastructure. So, and that is a section of government that deals with how much they're going to pull your pants down for using a bit of land that's not being used. So yeah, so I'll be trying that. And also, I'm really, really lucky that I work with the lovely Snoop.
He's a bit out of shot, a bit more. He's a bit out of shot for everyone. There we go.
Work with a lovely Snoop, so I do get to hear quite a lot of his gossip, which is nice. And more than that, I'm seriously thinking about running a big event at a military site, which I mentioned to you lads earlier, this summer. So we'll all be on that. Don't worry, we'll be on that like a track.
I'm coming.
Yeah.
I'm going. So that's it. Whenever it is, I'm there.
Will be happening. If I can pull this off, don't worry. It's going to be an invite-only thing. Sorry. Yes, it seems limited. But in all honesty, I could fill it with invites of just pals I know that I could just go, okay, you be Marshall, you be Marshall, you be Marshall. Don't worry, high vis, just play. Watch for any accidents, and the game would just run itself. I wouldn't need anything like that, and just drop a massive, great big brief on a few input. But anyway, I digress. Cool. That's what I'm doing this week.
Carlo, off to you. What's up next for you?
What's up next week? Well, I've actually had to take this month off from playing. I've been doing a bit of personal work with some charities. One that I'm hoping to help out is for a charity airsoft game.
Ooh,
I mentioned in the chat earlier. Put it up now. It's on the 2nd of April at the jail in Oakham. So far, the guys have gear up for grabs in a raffle from Tasmanian Tiger, Bomb Up Airsoft, and Tardigrade Tactical. The money raised will be going to support Scotty's Little Soldiers. This is a charity dedicated to supporting children and young people who have lost a parent that served in the British Armed Forces. £20 deposit gets you a ticket, and then it's £30 on the day, which covers your entry, your lunch, a free raffle ticket, and a goodie bag upon arrival.
Nice. Oh, well done.
Can't go wrong. 50
exactly.
quid, whole day's worth of airsoft at the jail. Fantastic site to go to.
Awesome venue.
Cool
prison.
site. Yeah,
right
absolutely.
in the damn prison. How cool? How much cool does it get? It's been used for film sets and all sorts. Next month I'll be on a Milsim at Apocalypse. Graham, I think you're going, aren't you?
Skipping this one. I'm not until May.
Skip.
I'm at Airborne.
You going to be there?
Is that the 11th, 12th, and 13th of March?
Yeah, 10th to 12th.
I will come and find you. I think I'm going to be there for the night bit. And
you might be in
Sunday.
trouble. Okay. Night vision. I'm coming to find you.
Bring pizza and beer, please.
I will.
Save me from myself. That's cool.
Okay. Anyone? Anything with Floperator?
Floperator, that was it. Thanks for reminding me. Floperator is now recording every Thursday night.
I might get on that one day.
I hope so. I've invited you a few times. You keep saying worse than my ex.
Not that bad.
Yeah. Like I said at the very start of the show, I want to try and use it to pull in all aspects of airsoft, including LARP, reenactment, film battle sim, and contemporary war times as well as classic wars. There's just so many aspects that airsoft covers. So we're trying to pull all those together, try and shed some light on it.
I will share the link in the comments to that as well.
Please, yeah, that'd be great. With that, it's just basically it's a free for all. Airsoft is inclusive. Let's pull everybody in and have a good time.
Cool.
Sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Floperator, we're looking to take that kind of 2 sites as well and try and do live shows there. But we'll see how the laptop hacks it. It won't even be broadcast live. It'll just be record everything onto the hard drive, drop the laptop, and that's it. Doesn't work. Sorry.
Cool. Right, before we go to random, did we get any questions coming in?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, we got loads.
Right.
We got loads.
Go for it. Quick fire.
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Right. From where I can see is the top one as a team. What would you say the most valuable specialist role is for a Milsim team? The most important person in our team is our medic. Is named Jordan, also known as the Rejected Lens. He's always been our dedicated medic guy. He is flat out all weekend. Luckily, because he's the youngest one as well, and he's always in the gym. So he's the guy that puts in the most work. Out of all of the Milsim roles, I would say the medic is the one that has to be on point at all times. You can also get called to go out and medic other people. If we were getting mortared in the fob at Copill, I think it was, and those people went down, so he was out medicing, getting people up. But he's also done all the CASSIM stuff with CAG. So if you're a medic in a team, just expected to be shouted and pulled in a million different directions and just have to get on with it. Enola Gay or Cloud9, depends. I obviously will vote for Cloud9. I think from the perspective of what was used at CAG, Cloud9 was way better. Said in your news you don't like gameplay footage, just wondering why that is. I think gameplay footage is really easy to manipulate. And I did want to show a bit of a demo in this, but I just didn't want to get into a bitching argument. I just think it's very, very easy to show one side of the story. Also, with the type of events that I do, no one's going to want to watch like a 10-hour video of briefing, and then a team briefing, and then a TL briefing, and then going out into the ground, moving into an OP that could take, I don't know, they were like 4K infills with CAG, so maybe, I don't know what it's going to take, maybe an hour, hour and a half, dependent on the terrain, then getting into an OP, watching the building for 2 hours, getting intel in, then waiting for your strike ops, maybe going back out, swapping with another team. You're just not going to want to watch it. So from a Milsim perspective, I don't think that it could particularly work. I don't really watch gameplay either. I've watched a few Novrich videos. I watched Wayne's. I like Kicking Mustang or James's. His videos are normally really good because they're normally like a few minutes long and he just kills loads of people, so it's quite fun. But I just don't find it that entertaining. I'm sorry if I'm upsetting people there.
I do. I love it.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's what you enjoy, isn't it? I mean, some people don't like watching review videos. I love watching both of it. To be fair,
yeah.
I mean, I don't watch. I'm not someone who goes and buys the Warrior DCS, but I enjoy watching your videos. And the same thing. So
I think for me, if someone's interested in the product, they're going to watch the video. If they're not interested in that product, then they're not, and that's what's quite nice. I think there's a different way of composing those videos as well. There was a big thing with Matt the Musketeer, and I don't want to sort of dirty his name at all because he's a nice guy, but you know, someone had filmed him not taking a hit, and then on his video they'd cut his video in of him just sort of storming into a building, and I don't remember the whole thing exactly, but
there was a cut off, wasn't there? He'd got hit, he walked to death, but in his video he carried on walking because he cut from another scene later on, didn't he?
Something like that as well, and that's where I've always said, you know, it's just too easy to manipulate. You know, you could just put all of your hits that you've got of other people into a video, and all of a sudden people perceive that you just never die, and I think that's what he gets. But I think he just doesn't include them, so it's down to him. I just still think it's easy to manipulate, so I don't particularly watch it. Is there any way to get a good list of the basic kit to look at to start a Milsim? You could have a look at the kit list on the Sterling Airsoft website. The only issue you're going to have with that is that it's going to be specific for that environment. The issue with a basic kit list is it really depends where you're playing and what you're doing. The two quick sides of that is that if you're a mod base, then you could turn up with 2 pelly cases and just dump your pelly cases in the fob and work out them a weekend and take out a day sack and stuff. On the flip side of that, if you're going to a rural one and you're into woodlands and you may have to bump to your OP or whatever your sleeping arrangement is, you may have to put everything in a Bergen and take, you know, everything for your weekend on your back at that one point. So it's difficult to get a basic one. It really does depend on the event and what you're going to be doing. So sorry, I can't really help with that. I think that's it. Awesome venue, interesting. Best Milsim moment. Best Milsim moment. There's been some really good ones actually. Yeah, I'll tell you two actually. One was really was awesome. Is that when we infilled by the boat? That was absolutely awesome. I've had some bad Milsim moments as well, and this comes down to my own kind of. Well, not my own mistakes, some of other people's mistakes in that as well. But we stacked up behind a wall and someone threw a Mark 9 over. The Mark 9 come over the wall and landed about 2 foot from me. And I only had one of the security type ear pro in. And even the guys that had contacts and stuff in, it was so loud that it just startled all of us. And it really hurt one of my ears for about a month. So ear pro. Blimey. Yeah, it looked like a road flare. If you've ever seen a road flare, that's what the sort of pyro that came over the wall, and it startled all of us. Completely wipes all out. The guys stopped the game and all that sort of thing. So it was not a great situation to be in. But yeah, I've had some really good Milsims. At the Valley, we snuck up to a building in the middle of the night and walked around the corner and caught some guy going to the toilet, which was quite funny. And he got lit up, and so did the guys inside. So it was quite good fun. So yeah,
cool.
I'll tell you about that one day.
That's that's probably where we've got to.
Okay, cool. Right, limited questions. Obviously, running a bit later than we wanted. Tim, pick your favourite question so far on there, and whoever it is gets to win a patch when I get them printed.
I definitely think it's the one about what role is most important. I think that's quite an intriguing question. It's a good question. It's a good one. You know, which one is going to take the most of a beating? So yeah, Dead Lead Panda is there.
I know Panda. Hey,
it's a fix. Okay, Paul, I'll leave it. I'll catch up with you for the name then. Okay. So Trashy, what are you up to this week? What have we got to look forward to for this week and the next couple of weeks? If that's the case.
Yeah, so the Friday this week will be dropping the second part of the Milsim series, and that is pretty much going into detail of what to expect at a Milsim, what you're not going to expect at a skirmish, kind of how they differentiate. Again, it's probably going to be a controversial video where people are going to kick up a fuss about it. It is my opinion on my experiences. That's all I can give, and that's all I feel is valid for me to put out there. Friday, leaving to go to Wales to do Carewent with Sterling. Really looking forward to it. Got a good little team going. We're just looking forward to going and hammering the night ops. And obviously there's a lot of other good teams as well. So it's going to be a good firefight for the weekend.
Are you taking thermal? Or are you just doing MVG? Oh, you can't say.
I'm probably going to have some type of thermal, yeah. I would, yeah. I'm going to take something. Hopefully running both for our team, but yeah, we will have thermal devices. Matt from Sterling is just going to be like, no. But yeah,
I used Michael's the other week. I had a look at it. Amazing kit. Yeah, it's after you recommended it. Watched your video, knew he purchased it. Amazing kit, absolutely amazing.
So for what he paid, which I know is a kind of eye-watering amount, he was at the event last Wednesday. He smoked me, my friend Matt, and Richie. Single shot to the centre of the chest, and I had my night vision on. I didn't even see him. Just a quick in the middle of the chest. So that is a phenomenal bit of kit.
It's a thermal scope. If you're not taken that in already, yeah. So a thermal scope on his TM recoil.
What's the best minute? Thanks, Panama. Retweet any recommendations for Milsim Light, Pussy Sim for us, lightweights, us fat people, Matthew Armour short. I don't know, dude. I mean, try these 8-hour Milsims. Probably don't go to Octo 8, but try one of the airborne ones or something like that, and see how you get on with it. See how you enjoy it. As soon as you start feeling uncomfortable and not enjoying it, then maybe it's not for you. But just try one of the one-dayers. Again, try some of the nighttime events and go from there. See how you get on. Try maybe going to Sterling at one of the military sites. Don't go do one of their rural ones because they tend to be a little bit more difficult.
Cool. And finally, how can people follow you, get in touch with you? What's your social links, all that?
youtube.com/randomtrashy and all the rest is just randomtrashy. So I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm really active on Facebook. If you do have any questions, anything you just want to ask offline, stuff that you just want to run by me, always feel free to drop me a message on Facebook. I normally get back within the hour, so I'm normally on there a fair bit. So yeah, anything you want to ask, throw it on there. Please feel free to go and check out my YouTube channel. That would be awesome. And yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me.
No problem. If you press the I, which will be that way on the corner, on the I there is a link to Random Trashy's page. There is a link to the Floperator podcast as well. And there is a link to Airsoft Nation, which leaves me to sign out this week. I've got the whole week off work, so I've got loads of stuff to do with Airsoft Nation. But primarily, it's fixing the marketplace, which is to sell your riffs. So if you want to sell your riffs, come on to Airsoft Nation /marketplace. And the mobile apps, which I'm hoping by the end of this week should be pretty much ready to submit to the store. So, and you can follow all of that on Airsoft Nation or on the Facebook /Airsoft Nation. And with that, I hope you all have a fantastic week. Thank you for tuning in to episode 1 of the Airsoft Nation Live. I believe I did fix the latency issue just after halftime. So,
did 21 minutes into it.
There we go. So, so that's all fixed, but it's teething issues. So, thank you very much to Carlo. I've got to get the other hand way. Very much for Carlo. Very much to Paul and to Random Trashy. And I hope you all have a great week. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.